In this video, I'll walk you through how to use Magentrix IDE and the trigger framework to add server logic to your portal. Our example, we are going to create a trigger on the lead entity that sends out an SMS via Twilio whenever a partner checks a box labeled Hot Deal during deal registration. This lets the partner development manager know instantly when a high priority opportunity comes in. Along the way, we'll cover how triggers work in Magentrix, what events cause them to fire, how they handle bulk operations, and why this kind of low-code extensibility is such a powerful feature for scaling operations. But before we dive in, there's one thing to clarify. The environment I'm using today is a standalone Magentrix instance, meaning it's not currently connected to Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. In a standalone mode, Magentrix acts as a CRM itself, managing your leads, accounts, opportunities, and any custom entity natively with full platform capabilities. Because this instance isn't connected to an external CRM, I'll be creating the custom checkbox field called Hot Deals directly inside Magentrix on the lead entity. That way, when a hot deal is registered by a partner, an SMS can be triggered immediately to alert the channel manager. If you are working in a connected environment like Salesforce or Dynamics, the flow would be a little bit different. You'd first create the field in your CRM, then use the schema synchronization tool to import it into your Magentrix environment. Either way, whether you're in a standalone mode or a connected mode, the development experience is largely the same, with just a few minor differences, and I'll point them out as we go. Let's get started. Before we start coding, we need to first create the hot deal field on the lead entity. To do that, I'm going to use a shortcut. Go to Entities, find the lead object, click on the lead, and create a new checkbox field. Call it Hot Deals or Hot Deal, and save. Once the deal is saved, we're going to go to the page layout and add this to the deal registration form. So in this form, I'm going to look for Hot Deals and drag and drop it onto the screen. Save and close. Let's now take a look at the form. I'm going to go back to the home page, switch my app to Partner Portal, and click on the new deal registration. Now you can see that the field appears here. Now that we have the field, we can get onto coding with the trigger. Now let's get on to coding. In order to get to the development environment, I'm going to click on the quick access and click on the IDE. This will take me to the development area. In the development area, there are a couple of different sections. This is the active page section. This is where you create your front end using HTML. And this is your back end section. This is where you're writing your code. So I'm going to click here. In this section, you'll see two separate areas, one controllers and classes, and the other one is trigger. So we want to create a trigger on the lead object. I'm going to call this Hot Deal Trigger, and this is going to be on the lead entity. And this will create a trigger for me on the lead that will get executed during the record lifecycle. And I'm going to explain the record lifecycle in a few minutes. So looking at this, it created a class for me called Hot Deals, and it's passing me something called a trigger. This is a transaction context. I'm going to open up another trigger that I created before so that I can explain the life cycle of a trigger. A trigger is called twice during a life cycle of a record. Once before the record is committed to the database and once after. Let's look at each. So here I can check to see if this is before that the record is committed to the database by checking on trigger.isBefore. And I can also check to see if it's after trigger.isAfter. Note that trigger.isBefore is only executed for Magentrix native entities. This is not executed for CRM connected entities. Depending as to the type of action that was operated on the record, we're going to get a different event. So we have three events. We have is deleted, is insert, and is update. And these events are consistent when we have the is after action as well. The trigger has two properties. One of them is called old and one of them is called new. Is deleted event, only the old record is being populated with the actual record that's being deleted. In the insert event, only the new property is getting populated and the old will be null. In an update event, both old and new will be populated. New will have the new record with the new values, and old will have the old values. This way you can make decision based on the values whether certain actions need to take place. So again, same thing with the is after. On the is after, you have the exact same events. Another note I need to make is that the for is after, the is deleted is not executed for CRM entities either. Only is insert and is update is executed. Now let's go back. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go back to the hot deal trigger. We are interested in the is after because we want to send the SMS after the record is created. We are not interested in is deleted, but we are interested if a record is an insert or an update. So whether during the deal registration or sometime after the deal registration, the checkbox is checked. We want to trigger a SMS message. So I'm just going to combine these two together. Since we copied this and the class name conflicts, we need to change this back to hot deal. Now inside the is insert or is update, what we want to do is we want to look for the partner account. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say var account IDs equal trigger dot records. Remember that records are sent in bulk to trigger. So all the records are in the records property here dot where. Now we have all the IDs of the account. Let's actually query the account. All right, now that we have the accounts, let's find out who are the owners. Just a note, all these methods that I'm using here, like database.query or to list as admin, these are all documented on our developer guide at help.magentrix.com. So owners are basically users in the system. So now that we have all the owners, we're going to query the users. Now let's do our conditional loop here. We're going to do a condition so that we only look at the ones that the partner account ID is populated. So here I'm going to use link to say dot where string dot is null or empty. If you need a quick reference in order to look up properties like partner account ID, something you can do is right here, you can click on entities, look for the object like lead in this scenario, and then look for all the properties. Here I have partner account ID here. This is the field I'm working with. All right, now that we are in the loop, we're going to find the record that is associated with the deal that was registered, the account. So we're going to say var account equals accounts dot first or default. We're going to make sure that it's not null. We're going to look at the owner. If owner is null, which should not be because owner has to be populated all the time, or there's no phone number associated with the owner. Now we're going to initialize our Twilio. So I'm going to say var, and Twilio documentation is also available on our website. We do have a wrapper around the Twilio API. So here we're going to load the configuration that we have for Twilio. This is the configuration configured for your organization. And then we're going to say Twilio send SMS. You have a hot deal. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to save the code. Hopefully I won't get any error. And then once it's saved successfully, I'm going to walk you through exactly what we did again and why we did it in a certain way. All right. It seems like I have a spelling mistake here. Let's fix that. Saved successfully. Perfect. So let's walk through the code. Here we're saying after the record is committed to the database, during an insert or an update operation, give me all the partner accounts. So on the lead object, there is a field called partner account ID. This will be populated during a deal registration with the account ID of the partner. And assuming that the owner on the account is the PDM for that particular account, we're going to load the user information for that PDM, and we're going to send notifications. So in this scenario, we're going to look, because remember, all the triggers work in bulk in case there are multiple deal registration at once. We're going to look through all the deal registration records, find the ones that do actually have a partner account ID, get their ID, and if their ID is more than 0, that means it was a deal registration that has it through a partner. Before we do a for loop, we're going to load all the records we need from the database so that we don't actually load our records in a for loop and make database calls in the for loop, which will have a performance impact. So I'm going to load all the accounts associated that was passed to the trigger. Once I have all the accounts, I can find all the owner IDs of those accounts, get their user information here. And then again, we're going to do a similar loop here where we're only going to find the records that have their partner account ID populated. For that particular deal registration, find the account. If the account is null, then we don't continue, which shouldn't be at this point. And then once we have the account, we'll find the owner and we get the owner record. And if the owner is null, which shouldn't be again, or the owner doesn't have a mobile phone number on file, then we don't continue. Otherwise, we initialize our Twilio configuration. We call the send SMS message to the mobile number with the message. In this part, we are actually referencing the URL of the portal. So in this scenario, my portal is demo3.magentrixcloud.com/the record ID. And that's enough for the user to click on, or the PDM to click on and navigate to the record that is a hot deal. All right, this is our tutorial for today. You can review our documentation online at help.magentrix.com and then click on the developer. Talk to you next time.